Hello, welcome back. We are discussing about locator identification technique in Selenium, and in the last video we already discussed how to figure out using ID, and also we come to know that not all the HTMLs are written according to spec so that it will have an ID. Okay, it's very likely that you may not have any ID. Okay, so in that case, is there any other way to figure it out? So let's take an example of this website. This website is just a very simple website where we have a login and password, and if you look at this body, then what we are seeing here is that we have okay, so we have input is equal to ID is equal to u1, and type is equal to text and username, but the second field, which is password, does not have any ID. However, it just have only something called name is equal to password. So then how do I identify this field, which is the second input box? So since we don't have an ID, but we can use another technique, and that technique is called by name. Okay, so that is the second technique that we mentioned there, something called by name. Okay, so using by name we can identify the second element. So essentially what you are seeing here is that to identify this field, what you can just give name is equal to password. Okay, the way you are giving to identify the first element, you give ID is equal to u1. In the second case, you are going to give name is equal to password. Okay, so basically, so that is what is the rule. Okay, so first look for an ID. If you already get an ID, then use that. If you are not getting, then look for an attribute, and if you finding an attribute that is called name, then use that. So that means in this case, okay, to identify this field, what I just need to do, I need to just give name is equal to password, and let's find. So I'm finding it. Okay, so now let's take another example. In this third example, okay, I just modify that HTML page a little bit. Okay, and I like to identify this password field. To identify this password field, let's inspect the HTML. For our simplicity, I put this HTML here. We want to find out the password. So first, look at this. Basically, if you inspect this tag, so basically if you inspect this tag, what you are seeing here, you don't have an ID, so you cannot use ID, but you can use something called name is equal to username. Okay, so since name is equal to username is there, so let me basically use that. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do now, I'm going to the Selenium ID and give name is equal to username. Okay, and that's find. So I want to find the second field, right? But it looks like it's finding the first field. So do you know what's the reason? And let's take a look. So name is equal to username is also seen in the first element as well. So it might happen that both the input field have the same name, and this is what is exactly happening in this case. And if that is the case, then Selenium is going to select or going to recognize the first one it meets. In this case, if I give name is equal to username, it sees that name is equal to username in the very first element, so therefore it is selecting that. Okay, so how to solve this problem? There are two ways to work around this thing. The first way is called by filtering. So basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to give some additional thing. So name is equal to username, that's fine. Also you see there is something called value is equal to ABC, therefore you give value is equal to ABC. Okay, if you give name is equal to username and value is equal to ABC, then it identifies this one only. Okay, so this is called by filtering. And second thing that we can do, we can give name is equal to username. So name is equal to username is going to recognize these two things. Then what we do, we add one more thing called index is equal to 1. Okay, so index start from 0. So 0 is the first one, second one is index is equal to 1. The why we have index mechanism, because you may not have always the value here. If you do not have value, then you cannot able to make this kind of statement. Okay, so let's do an example. Let's try to demonstrate both. So the first technique is name is equal to username, and then I say value is equal to ABC. Okay, so if I do a find, then it's now recognizing. Else what I'm going to do, I'm going to give index is equal to 1. Start from 0, so the second one will be 1. So it is recognizing now. So this is how you are going to recognize using the name technique. So let's take a look at your orbis.com. So in orbis.com, if I want to recognize, I just want to find out what is the identification mechanism for this text box. Do a right click, go to inspect element with Firebug, then you are seeing all this thing. So this is a tag. In this tag, do you find any ID? The answer is no. Do you find any name? Yes, there is a name called hotel.keyword.key. Okay, so that means if you copy this thing, okay, and then you put it here, name is equal to hotel.keyword.key, and then do a find, then yes, you are finding this thing. Okay, so that means see how easy it is. First thing you have to see, like just go through basically whenever going to do this thing. So look at this locator identification technique, find out ID. If the ID is not there, go for a name. If you are not able to use name, then we will talk about all other things in other videos, so that you can identify the element properly.